All right, let's get up. Only so we can get down. Nobody says that anymore, right? Get down? I mean, the cops still say that. It's not something you want to hear, but. Anyway, hi, how's it going? A lot of, phrases and weird sayings from the 90s that aren't around anymore. In some cases, that's good. Like the not jokes, those were horrible. But, radical. I missed that. Let's bring back radical. Red. Tubular can stay in the 90s, but radical, dude. That's good. Yeah. Since when do you have answers to anything? Hey, of course I have answers to anything. As long as they don't have to be correct. Anyone has all answers to anything. They may just not be right. They may be complete bullshit. I mean, a lot of people peddle it anyway. They don't care. Yeah. So, is it just me? Or does anyone else feel a little disoriented by time? What I mean is, it's kind of weird how, on the one hand, the 90s are, how long ago? 30 years? But on the one hand, it seems like forever ago. It was a whole different time. It was a different era. But then sometimes I have moments where I'm like, huh, is that really so long ago? And in the everyday, day to day, sometimes I feel like time is almost frozen. Particularly when you're doing something tedious or you're waiting for something, it seems to crawl along, right? But then you look back and you're like, whoa, that's another year gone. What happened? Isn't that kind of weird? How the brain has this disconnect of time is simultaneously going kind of slow, but then it's all over in a moment, supposedly. This is bizarre. Absolutely agree. It feels like it was 10 years ago and it feels like something new. Stop breaking my brain with the philosophical questions. No. It has not been broken yet. I'm not done. Hey, thanks, Frank. Heads up, if you order a sword from Arms and Armor, beware that that'll take you a year or so to receive it. Still waiting on mine. Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's better than Albion, right? Because Albion is over a year waiting time at this point. Probably because of how we comprehend memories. Yeah, and the other thing about memories too is like we look at them like as if they were recordings. Maybe VHS recordings because they are not quite, flawless by any means. But the thing is, psychological research has shown that we modify memories every time we access them. Like we distort them a little bit. It may not be much, but like every time you recall a memory, you just slightly alter it, which is kind of wild, right? So, I guess VHS is sort of a decent analog because, as you keep playing VHS tapes, they degrade, right? The more you watch it, the more the quality is going to suffer. So, I guess memories are more like VHS than DVD or let alone digital, right? So, yeah, we don't even really know what we remember. Like, what we remember could be just a little bit different. It's not just the distorting from recollection, it's also just we form memories inaccurately to begin with. I mean, depending on who you are, some people have photographic memory, but most people are just, it's kind of hazy, right? Anyway, thanks, Vladimir. What's best in life besides crushing my enemies, seeing them driven before me, and hearing the lamentation of their women? Besides, well, ending your life with glorious snoo. I don't know. Tasty food and good video games. That's best in life. Yeah. Sex, tasty food, and video games. Thanks, Nova Star. Would you compare Valov's lands from Tsukihime to historical battlefield lances? Also, how are you doing today? That's the easy question. I'm doing all right. I have no idea what you're talking about otherwise. I can try to look it up. The what now? From whom? Who did the what with the thing and the stuff? What are the kids watching these days? What are they asking me about the animes? I don't know about that. Back in my day, they looked a lot different. They weren't quite as pedo, if you know what I mean. I can't even find pictures. I'm sorry. I tried. But it's just, I can find the pictures of the guy, but not his lands. So, yeah, I got nothing on that. Sorry. Heard that thanks, Scott. Heard that the Pro Gauntlet company went bankrupt? Damn. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, I kind of am, but at the same time, it makes sense in hindsight, so to speak, because the production was so slow. Like, they had such a huge backlog and just couldn't catch up at all. And man, that sucks though. That really sucks. I was still hoping to get a size medium because the large doesn't fit me perfectly, but yeah, so much for that. Man, it's the best gauntlet and it failed. God damn it. Thanks, Andre. Opinion on Combat Commander from United Cutlery. That I should be able to find, unlike the Tsuki Hiba Huba thing. Okay, that was a bit unnecessary. What was it? Tsukihime, I think. Combat Commander, United Cutlery. All right. It's a trench dagger. Here. Yeah. Trench knife. Just extra edgy. You know, there's something about the shape that's like super edgy. Yeah, I don't really have much to say. It's a fairly standard knife shape, but then they attach the knuckle duster part. It's actually kind of odd that the fourth finger is open. Like, why? But speaking of knuckle dusters, I'm working on something. Just give me a second. I'll be right back. You stay there. Don't move. Don't go away. Don't even go to take a piss. I'm watching you. You better still be there. Did you leave? Did you go anywhere? You better not. I'm warning you. I have a noisy cricket, and I'm not afraid to use it. It's not a noisy cricket, but it looks a lot like it, doesn't it? At first glance, doesn't it look like a noisy cricket? It's an airbrush. I went down a rabbit hole for a Halloween costume. I might have bitten off more than I could chew, but hey, I'm trying. Problem is, it takes up way too much time that I don't have. Anyway, so, knuckle duster, right? The video I'm planning is basically about how knuckle dusters are garbage. You know, the way they're designed is wrong. I'm pretty sure this is better. Because you don't need finger holes. There's really no need for finger holes. Why would you want them to be separated? You don't. Okay? And also, a lot of metal knuckle dusters are awfully thin, so that jams into your hand. This is wood. It's wood, and it has no separate finger holes. See what I did there? Oh yeah. Canadian law. This is 100% legal. And I think it's better. But I'll figure that out. I'll test it out and see how it goes. All right. Turned out pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Yeah. Yeah, so you don't want individual fingers to go in separate holes. You want all of them to go in one hole. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, thanks, Bubba's Big Blast. That sounds dirty. Could somebody superhumanly strong, i.e. fantasy, gain an advantage by using giant neodymium magnet mace, disarming / wrong foot enemies using wrong foot? Okay. If it's powerful enough, but then you have another weapon stuck to your weapon. So what are you doing then? Are you swinging the other weapon at the end of your weapon as like a flail of doom? Yeah. Okay. Metal individual finger holes is just a good way to break your damn fingers. Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm thinking. Thanks, Thomas. Hope you're doing well. Why were Zweihanders a weapon of choice, especially for mercenaries like the Landsknecht? In that case specifically, they were meant to go up against polearms. They were basically like a counter to polearms. Which is of questionable utility, you know, because like you can counter polearms with other polearms, but I mean, there's something to be said about it. It's more useful at intermediate range. You know, pikes obviously are very long, so they have a crazy amount of range, and halberds too, for that matter. So when you get into the intermediary range, where you can use the Zweihander pretty well, but you're not quite close enough to draw the sidearm yet, you can try to bind them up and damage them, etc. I've made an entire video about that. It's actually better if I refer you to that. Something great swords or large two-handed swords, pikes. If you type pikes into the search, you should find it. I basically went into quite a lot of detail there. Thanks, Andre. Talking about the Gladius. Oh, Everything is called Combat Commander when it's from United Cutlery, huh? Oh boy. Everything. It's all the Commander of Combats. So this thing, yeah, it's very Commander-like and very Gladius-like. Let's see what we got here. Blade. That's a pretty comfortable looking handle. It's probably rubberized. Yep, TPR rubberized handle. Yeah, it should be a comfortable handle. It's very short, even for a Gladius, but they did come in different lengths, depending on the type and all that. Yeah. I'm a little concerned about how sharp this angle is here. Is that hollow grind? Yeah, that's quite the sharp ridge there. So I don't know, might not be as good for cutting. It might bind a little bit. Also has a pretty strong secondary bevel, so I don't know. And a Gladius is still supposed to cut, believe it or not. I've made a video about that too. They're not supposed to just thrust. But yeah, I mean, for $40, I mean, can you even nitpick? I can always nitpick, but I mean, does it make sense? You know. Thanks, Hideous X. Speaking of knives, the Vorpal blade from American McGee's Alice. Or wait, is it McGee or McGee? Probably McGee. MacGuffin? Anyway, made me wonder if a kitchen knife would be a viable shape for a weapon, provided it was built for combat and not cutting vegetables. I mean, a messer, sort of kitchen knife-ish. In fact, even more so. The Albion Cherusker that I reviewed about 2 years ago, 2, 3, is basically a giant kitchen knife. So, yeah. It has been done. Thanks, Novastar. How powerful do you find the mystic eyes of death perception? Is this some weeb stuff that I'm too normie to understand? I can't even refer to myself as a normie with a straight face, I mean. What? Excuse me? What's the thing? What are you talking about? Okay. I'm just gonna have to look it up again. Mystic eyes of depth perception. I thought eyes came built in with depth perception. Oh, never mind. What's going on? Type of mystic eyes that are considered to be such a rarity that they are thought not to exist at all. Are we talking about fancy eye colors or what is workings? Workings. A circuit that opens up in the brain and eye. A circuit that opens up in the brain and eyes. Allows the user to perceive death? Huh? I'm so confused. Death is invisible to normal people. Yeah, no shit. The ability to perceive the death of a being or object depends entirely upon the user's perception. Wait. What's the point exactly? I guess I have eyes of death because I've seen roadkill and I could tell that it's dead. I guess I have eyes of death perception. I can tell when something is dead by looking at it. Wow. Wow, anime never ceases to amaze me with its incredible powers. Okay. Um, yeah, so not very powerful. I can do it too in the real world. Also, how thick did battlefield lance blades get? I don't have measurements for you. I'm sorry. If you look at museums, generally pole arms, spears, lances, etc., are thinner than you think. They are not awfully chunky. I can tell you that much. But yeah, what am I missing here about the eyes of depth perception? I mean, depth perception. What's the point? I could see that something died. Yeah. Wow. I'm impressed. I can do that. I think it's meant to tell you when and how something is gonna die so you can prevent it. Yeah, but then it doesn't work. If it allows you to look into the future and then you can prevent it, then it didn't allow you to look into the future because it didn't happen. What's the point? Thanks, Frank. How good or bad are Dane axes against plate armor? Plate armor, not fantastic. I mean, you can flip around, strike with the other side, but not. I mean, okay. If you hit somebody hard with a Dane axe in the head, they're not going to be happy. All right. So, somewhat. They're better than swords, that's for sure. Thanks, history mystery. If they'd been intro to Europe earlier, for example, 800s, do you believe dueling shields could have been employed en masse on battlefields like the Romans used the scutum? No, I don't think so. They're too clunky. It's a specialized dueling weapon, and it's really not. It's really not very useful beyond that. I mean, just imagine trying to use those in a formation. You know, it ain't happening. Like, you're gonna constantly get caught up in each other's shields, you know, like the guys left and right of you, and they're too clunky. You need space to use them effectively. Space and not a whole lot going on, not a bunch of people. So it brings up test of iron swords. I would like to do that, but the problem is nobody makes iron swords. Nobody. It's like you can, even Iron Age swords are generally made of steel on the current market. That was a bit too far. So I've not found anyone who makes historically accurate, properly made iron swords. It's just not really a thing on the market. There might be some custom makers who do, but I haven't seen anything. Thanks, Donnie. How might a swordsman subdue someone non-lethally? You can always smack him with a flat. In fact, that is one of the strikes shown in the historical manuscripts, where you literally just whack him in the head with the flat of the blade. And of course, you can always use grappling. That doesn't really involve the sword quite so much. Before you say pommel strike or strike with a guard, it's not really non-lethal in the head. That can... I mean, okay. Technically, you can subdue someone non-lethally by smashing his kneecaps, right? In fact, you could even subdue someone non-lethally by cutting off a leg and then applying a tourniquet to make sure they survive, right? Technically. It's not ideal though. So probably the flat strike. The problem is, okay, quick tangent because it's kind of one of my pet peeves. Um, this non-lethal takedown that you see in all kinds of video games, movies, series, and all of that, where you smack someone over the head and they're knocked out for 2 hours or whatever. First off, if they're unconscious for longer than like a minute or a couple of minutes, they have brain damage. So you already screwed that up. And secondly, it's pretty easy to screw up. Anytime blunt impact force is applied to the head, there's a chance it might end up lethal. Or, permanently debilitating or whatever. The gentlest way to knock someone out is to choke them out, which, if you hold on for too long, it can still cause brain damage, but it's like the gentlest form. But the problem is they'll be back up in a minute or 2 or 3. So there is really no such thing as a non-lethal takedown that lasts for the entire duration of the mission, the way it's shown in stealth games. That don't work, unfortunately. I guess you would have to inject them with some kind of anesthesia. Thanks, Ogre. What would you say is the Leatherman weapon and tool? Leatherman weapon and tool? A short sword to fight with and build a camp? What? Is that a thing? Did Leatherman come up with that? Let's see. Chloroform also doesn't work the way it's shown in media. I'm sorry. It doesn't. I don't know. Are you talking about something hypothetical? Like if Leatherman were to come up with a short sword that also has tools? Because I can't find anything. He means a multi-tool of a weapon? It's not really a good idea. Because weapons have to do things that multi-tools don't. Like survive repeated hard impact. And, try not to fall apart. And all that. So I don't think that works too well. An axe will also work as a weapon. You can just do that, Camp hatchet. Things the omnificent. Do any modern HEMA bouts feature mismatched weapons? Yes. I'm really interested in staff versus sword / dagger / axe, etc. Mostly I've only seen staff versus staff. Yeah, there was when it was a Blood and Iron, there was something like a sparring game that we played sometimes, which consisted of like randomly rolling the weapons. So it was randomized who gets what. So sometimes you end up with dagger versus staff, which although staff was it a halberd? Might have been even worse, yeah. Or dagger versus longsword or whatever. And so sometimes you're really screwed, like royally screwed. And other times it's more like okay, like rapier versus arming sword. I mean, the rapier still has an advantage, but it's not quite as devastating. Or longsword versus sword and buckler. That's pretty interesting. That's more balanced. Hey, Vaughn, and thank you. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, that's all right. How do you feel about the versatility of arming swords? pretty good at the time, but kind of made obsolete in my book. Because a side sword does everything an arming sword does except better. So, yeah, kind of obsolete. But otherwise, yeah, pretty good. Um, did you sell your Saber slash Yatagan hybrid? No, I don't. I still haven't. Thanks, Frank. How good or bad are great swords against armor in general? Not as good as pole arms, but decent if you don't value your edge. That's generally the problem whenever you want to bash armor with a sword. Say goodbye to the edge, pretty much. Um, but they can hit pretty hard, so there's that. Thanks, Novastar. The eyes allow you to see the lines of death on anything, and cutting them instantly kills people, objects, and even concepts? How do you kill a concept? So like, I'm standing here taking a sip from my glass, and somebody cuts the line to the concept of a glass. It just vanishes from my hand, and liquid spills everywhere. So glasses never existed. Okay, I mean, this sounds a lot better. This like being able to cut the. It sounds more like it should be lines of the lifelines, right? Because you're not cutting the line of death. You're cutting the lifeline. You're cutting someone's or something's connection to the real world. Still sounds nuts, but also instantly kills object. How do you kill an object? Like, I'm really confused right now. I mean, it sounds very OP, but it also sounds very nuts. Missed a couple of super chats. I did not. You lie, sir. How dare you? No, literally, I'm looking at them. I missed nothing. How dare you, sir? I missed literally nothing. Anime shenanigans, yeah, clearly. I slay concepts on the daily. It's easy, yeah. Like, why didn't anyone kill the concept of poverty, or the concept of ugliness, or the concept of bad games, or anything really? Can somebody kill the concept of getting fat? That'd be nice. Pretty crazy concept indeed. Like the concept of killing concepts. Haha. Weird. Could you repeat on your thoughts on flamberges versus other blade types? Because I think I missed them. I don't even know when I talked about that. Not in this stream, but either way, in theory, they should cut a little bit better. Because it's like having a bunch of recurve edges, right? Like a recursive recurve or something. Maybe not recursive, but yeah. So yeah, in theory, it should help bite into the material. I've never tested it because nobody makes good flame blades, it seems. Flamberge, when you find it, it's usually like some kind of two-handed sword wall hanger thingy. I mean, I used to have one made by Traditional Filipino Weapons, which had a you know, wavy blade. I can't say I noticed a huge difference, but in theory, I could imagine it being good against soft armor. You know, like a gambeson, it might actually help cut through it. Yeah, I don't know. Anime rarely makes sense in any consistent way, even within their own universe, without the need to adhere to more realism. They still often make no sense. Yeah, I know. They play loose with the rules, if they even establish any rules. Sometimes they do like a half-assed attempt to explain things, but that they still don't make any sense. You know, that's the weird thing about a lot of anime. Not all of it, obviously. I know there's a different, but like there's so much exposition. I don't know of any other genre that has this much exposition, where characters will, in the middle of a battlefield, will have like a 15-minute conversation during which nothing happens other than exposition, where they explain everything, their backgrounds, their motivations, their techniques, right? So there's so much explanation, but then it makes so little sense. How does that work? I'm confused. Am I a paladin or a necromancer? Come on. You gotta ask. Hey, the reason the reason I got the noisy cricket, I mean, this paintbrush gun, is because I'm working on a necromancer costume for Halloween right now. I don't know if I'll get it done in time. I'm trying, but oh my, it's a lot of work because I'm a total noob and I'm figuring things out and it's challenging. But yeah, I've been wanting to do that for years. What do you think about the type of Indian axe with a basket hilt? It's pretty wild. I'm a little bit skeptical about it. Like, on the one hand, yes, having hand protection is nice, but on the other hand, it also kind runs counter to what an axe is, because an axe is supposed to be top heavy. So now you're adding a bunch of weight at the bottom. I don't know about that. And you're adding more weight in general. It's just heavier overall. Paladin plus Necromancer usually translates to Death Knight. Yeah, that makes sense. Paladins are boring though. Death Knights are not. Thanks for staying a voice of reason and not falling in line with the reactionaries, whoever they may be. Okay? I don't know what reactionaries you have in mind, but it's better to leave it that way. We don't need politics here. Thanks, Dylan. Sorry if you've been badgered about this already. Have you tried out Baldur's Gate 3? Best D&D video game I've played. I would like to, but it's a time-consuming sort of game, right? Like how like 100 hours is not much for a game like that, right? And I've been way too busy lately. Totally partially my own fault for starting this time-consuming project when I'm already short on that precious resource, but yeah, that wouldn't really be worth the full price of Baldur's Gate 3 for me currently, unfortunately. Thanks, Chapman. I got sick. I tried to call out. No one was able to cover my shift. I want to die. Ugh. That sucks. That's one of the worst things, having to work when you're sick. Familiar with that. That's a good excuse. What's a good excuse of what or for what or what are we talking about? Thanks, Aaron. Do you have any wall hanger you still like? No. What are the pros of a glaive slash bardiche versus a halberd slash poleaxe? None. I think the second option generally does more and does it better. Baldur's Gate 3 is way too addictive? Yeah. Figured. That's not really it's not really compatible with everything I've got on my plate. Divination to find my next viral hit. Yeah, it seems like it's pretty much needed at this point because who the hell knows? Nothing goes viral anymore. Or at least not in any kind of sensible way or predictable way. Yeah. Oh well. What's the lightest defensive sword that can substitute a shield? Swords don't really substitute shields all that much. I mean, a parrying dagger can sort of substitute a buckler. A sword doesn't really do that. And also, if it's super light, then it's also not as good for parrying, so... I want to say invalid question, as unsatisfying as it is. Not just you, several of my other favorite creators are not getting distribution. As you're making mindless content, YouTube isn't pushing you. Yeah. I know. There's always the temptation of clickbait. Which is, I mean, I don't actually find it that tempting, but it's always there as a tool that works, that has proven to work, but that is also repugnant, you know? Thanks, Aaron. Answer and axe. Access an answer to what? Oh no. What is your favorite medieval LARP weapon? What makes you think I have a favorite medieval themed LARP weapon? Thanks, Novastar. What if you could apply extreme heat to a sword edge with magic or technology up to something insane like surface of the sun temperature? It would melt. That's what? It would just melt. You're probably asking, what if you could like contain the power of the sun in the shape of the edge? I guess it would be sort of a lightsaber. It would be a sun saber, a solar saber. And it would be very extremely strong magic because it would have to completely shield you. See where the problem is? See where this is going? Like, in order to make the heat of the sun not burn you, right? It would need to be contained. If it's entirely contained by magic, it's not going to burn the opponent either. Right? So I think there's a bit of a challenge there, even with magic. You have Halloween plans this year? Will you be streaming? Pff, nah. Halloween is the sacred day. Halloween is the day where we do fun things, and it's always a day off. You don't get my time on Halloween. It's sacred. Ain't happening. Not really a question, just wanted to say that watching your content helped reinvigorate some of my drive to actually work on my novel. All right, glad to know. Trying to balance magic, 1860s era guns, and melee in it. That's challenging. But yeah, I've made some videos that go in that kind of direction. I mean, not specifically, but that can give you some inspiration. Would a shield be considered defense or a weapon that can parry? It's a defensive weapon. The way to make the blade do fire damage would be to make it heat anything it touches except its own scabbard rather than heating itself. But you'll still be in trouble when the boiling orc exploded. Yeah, true. Yeah, if the blade itself doesn't get hot at all, but it superheats everything it touches immediately. So you better not wipe that thing. Or accidentally touch your leg or anything. That would be a problem. It's easy. The magic has a radius around the sword, so when the sword comes into contact, it's within the field of the blade and allows it to burn things. How big is that field? That sounds like you can easily laser through your leg by accident. How are you holding up these days? I know you've been down in the not so recent past. Sucks that I lost basically 3 or 4 weeks due to sickness. And now I'm playing the old catch up. It's been rough. And YouTube is frustrating as always, but other than that, life goes on. Any guns you'd like to get trigger time on? Yeah. Good old Chicago typewriter. That'd be awesome, especially in that setup. But I'd also take the M1A1 in its battlefield configuration. That'd be cool. That would be certainly fun. M2 carbine is the only choice from... Nah, I'll take an M1A1. Thanks, Novastar. Would you look up primate murder and think of ways to fight it? You've just taken it upon yourself to ask me the most confusing questions today. You're succeeding, by the way. Like, it's definitely going well, if that's the goal. Primate murder? I don't think I want to see what I get when I type that into the search. So I think I'm going to skip that one. Can you forgive me for that? If I skip that one? Primate murder. It sounds like a metal band. Weird. What the hell? What would be a good way to defeat a polearm with a sword? Throw it and run away. There's really no easy answer because it's tough. Essentially, try to bind the polearm and get a hold of the haft and then rush at them, because up close the sword is better, of course, but it's hard to get there. Very hard. So, yeah. What? Okay, I was really confused because suddenly I'm reading, what ate your thoughts? Isn't there like a D&D monster that eats thoughts? Anyway, what are your thoughts? The channel called Dequitum? I have no idea, never seen it. Thanks, Coffee House Dialogue. It's an interesting name. Messer versus Spear. How might a non-lethal duel like that work when the spearman is taller? The swordsman doesn't really register pain or injuries that well. Non-lethal. How does non-lethal work here? Like, are the two combatants deliberately trying to be non-lethal? If so, with the spear, that's going to be very difficult. The good thing is, if you don't feel pain, then the spear whacking you with the haft is not that dangerous. So you could pretty much just rush in and non-lethally smack him with the flat of the blade of the messer. Yeah. Yeah, if they both just smack each other with the blunt parts, then yeah, it would be pretty useful to not feel pain. That would make the spear kind of crappy. Like, you could still use it like a staff, but the problem is, generally a quarterstaff is thicker than a spear haft. So the spear wouldn't hit as hard as the staff. So basically, if you don't even feel pain and injury, like, just take a hit on your forearm and accept that it'll be bruised or maybe even broken. Like, catch it on your offhand and then dash in with the messer and whip him with the flat, I guess, in the face, which is non-lethal-ish. Thanks, Dylan. If you had to duel a gorilla, what melee weapon would you decide on? The gorilla gets that weapon as well. Wait, so is the gorilla forced to use it? Or can the gorilla just toss it aside and fight the way they normally do? Because if the gorilla is forced to use it, I'm gonna pick a small sword. Because that's not gonna work very well with gorilla hands. The gorilla doesn't have to use the weapon. Well, in that case, um, hmm. So other than a polearm / spear. Two-handed falchion? Because the thing is that the gorilla is going to suck with the weapon anyway. It's probably going to discard it no matter what. I'd go bow and arrow. Well, the specification was melee weapon, so that's not allowed. Mm-hmm. Montante, yeah. Might work. What level is the gorilla? Yeah. Good question. I chose a gorilla as my weapon. Don't you mean as your ally? Because if the gorilla is literally your weapon, then you have to swing that thing around. Good luck with that. They are kind of heavy. Thanks, Polymath Art. Can we do a video on sword bayonets in hand? Not currently, because I don't have one. Might be interesting, but yeah, I don't have one. I don't think I'd want the gorilla to use a spear against me. Yeah, me neither. Spears are very easy to use. The gorilla could figure that out. Opinions on George Silver and the worst weapon ever, the rapier. Yeah, George Silver is a nerd. I mean, was. He had some real nerd rage. It's not that he doesn't make some good points, he just was very single-minded and biased. Like, yeah, if you don't use a rapier properly, and if you just charge in without proper technique, then yeah, it's one of the worst swords. But if you are properly trained with it and know what you're doing, then it's highly effective. What weapons are the most parkour compatible? Daggers? um, Short sword, maybe. Nunchucks. Yeah, silver definitely went. Actually, have you tried the cold steel boar spear? I have not. Are you playing the new Assassin's Creed? No. Lately, I haven't really played anything. I've just been scrambling to try to get through my to-do list for the day, which has been moderately successful. Everything always takes longer than I'm hoping. In 1917, Australian light horse charged Ottoman lines using their bayonets as swords. Yeah, there are definitely some, like for example, Yatagan bayonets are definitely quite suitable for use in hand. Classic executive dysfunction. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. Can't deny it. But it's also just some things just take a whole lot of time, and especially when you're doing something for the first time, you don't have a realistic estimate of how long it takes. Thanks, Gwell. In terms of medieval era movies, which would you consider the most accurate weaponry wise? Other than the ones that I've already made videos about for being particularly realistic, I'm not really aware of anything that's all that accurate, unfortunately. Which films would you consider the most laudably bad in your opinion? Yeah, I've already covered those as well in videos. I don't think, like, especially if you include fantasy, it doesn't get much worse than stuff like Highlander, you know, or Sword and the Sorcerer. Highlander was bad, yeah. Which one? I mean, the thing is, the first one is considered a cult classic. And you know, back in the day, in the 80s or whatever, yeah, it was pretty good back then. Like I remember watching it as a kid and liking it, but it has not aged well. And one of the worst things ever is this whole horrendous, ridiculous scene from Highlander or whatever the hell. It's a movie from 2000, which is utter garbage. I forgot the exact title, but you can find it in one of my videos. Thanks, Nova Star. Private Murder is a beast with an absolute authority to kill humans. Why would a beast need authority to kill humans? I have so many questions. Also, could a gorilla use a bow with a super high draw weight? Yeah, gorillas are strong. So if you teach them how to use a bow, yeah, I don't see why not. That's a weird sudden noise. Let's see. Yeah, but by 80 standards, you know, Highlander's decent. I think I peaked in my mid 40s. I thought you were like 16 or so, based on your comments. Anyway. Yes, Highlander the source. Can you quench a blade in ice cream? You can, but it might not be a good idea. It might go ping, and then you gotta start all over. Thanks, Pretzel. What historical bow had the highest draw weight? Long bows could be up to like 180 or so, I think. Although, I think there are some recurve bows that are supposed to be even higher. But I'm not an archery guy. I'm not a specialist on bows, so. Favorite horseback weapon? I don't really care about horseback fighting or anything really, so I don't have one. Thanks, Polymath Art. Gun Jesus, Ian McCollum versus Sword Jesus, Skallagrim. What kind of verses? Like crossover or duel or that's not quite fair, is it? Gun versus sword. I wonder who might win. I mean, if we start in a phone booth, that still kind of sucks. Thanks, Boxcar Hobo. Are you able to say one good thing for Highlander 2? Eh. Eh. Maybe. I mean, how was the official reception, actually? Like, what are the reviews of the second one? The Quickening. I mean, it had Sean Connery, Christopher Lambert, and Sean Connery. Yeah. The way they interact is pretty fun. So, there's that. See? And this is why I think you're 16. You're confirming what I said literally just now. You ain't in your 40s. Bullshit. Anyway, do you prefer living in Canada over Europe? Yes. If you what? If you were a necromancer, how would you equip a zombie? You don't equip zombies. You raise them and tell them where to go, what to do. You don't need to equip them. Thanks, Coffee House Dialogue. How might protection magic work for non-lethal duels? Shields, I guess. I mean, maybe something like the Dune thing, just the magic version. Could be something. Thanks, Nova Star. Were there all metal spears for throwing at all? Not that I'm aware of. Also, have you heard of Tower of God? I have not. Yeah, I don't think... I've never seen all metal throwing spears or javelins or whatever. You'd rather fight with two bucklers or two great swords in reverse grip? Two bucklers. I think the zombie question is what equipment would you equip a zombie with? Well, whatever they had on them when they died, right? I mean, sometimes they might not be good. Well, does a zombie really need equipment other than weapons? I mean, yeah, sure, they can strip whatever armor they can find from whoever they slay. But like, does it need very specific equipment? Not really. Not in my book. Hey, zombie tools in the house. How's it going, guys? Still working on the Legionnaire review, by the way. It's been rough to coordinate everything. There's just a pile of things. The to-do list for every day is like, but the good thing is I should only have to do some more abusive, well, not even necessarily abusive tests, because how do you even abuse the zombie tools other than, you know, you know what? You can't really abuse it as such. You can fell a tree with it and it's fine. But yeah, some kind of harder use footage I still need. The thing is, I would really like to do some thrusting tests with it, but I don't really have a good setup right now because the ballistic gel is just too bouncy. I could just try foam, but the problem is that I don't have a baseline to compare it to. So I still need to figure something out for that. Um, Thanks. Well, pole axe versus halberd, which is your favorite? Uh, halberd. Halberds are usually on top of my list of pole arms. Also, if you haven't already, you should totally do a pole arm comparison on best ones. I have not done that because I think that's pointless. You can't really pick a single best one. Like, if I personally had to pick one, I would go with a halberd because it's got a lot going for it, but that doesn't mean it's objectively better than a bunch of other pole arms, you know? Thanks, Spencer. How do you expect a world where people were allowed armor and shields would change dueling? And do you think it would change the famous weapons of medieval times? Well, the thing is, it's not so much about allowed, it's just about you wouldn't want to run around in everyday life clad in armor hauling around a shield. A buckler is fine, but it's just not convenient. Because if it's just for self-defense, it's one of those things that, you're prepared, but ideally it never happens, right? So you spend the vast majority of the time not fighting, just going about your daily business. So you don't want clunky armor because like even non-clunky armor is not very comfortable. You just don't want to run around in that all day. It's just not practical or convenient. Same with large shields. Thanks to Nova Star. Are there zombie tool shields that you can actually shoot, unlike swords that no one can attempt to shoot? Yeah, they should totally make bulletproof shields. There we go. The circle is complete. Is it necessary to oil blades of swords which already have a black coating on them? Most of them, yes. You can still get rust on the surface. And the problem is, if you do, it's even worse. Because then if you have to remove the rust with an abrasive, even if it's a very mild abrasive, it's probably going to take off the finish. So we have a shield on the idea table. Well, there we go. Awesome. Just don't make it too heavy. Because that's definitely something you don't want for a shield. I mean, unless it's a big ass shield like a Scudum, then it's acceptable. I mean, it's a bit unfair. I'm setting unfair standards here because, like, if it's supposed to be bulletproof and it's also supposed to not be too heavy, that doesn't really work. AR 500 plate is not light. What's your favorite sword steel for functional swords? 5160. Good old spring steel. I don't know what it is today, but today the old shoulder is bugging me. You know, the one that originally got injured, the car accident injury, car accident shoulder. I mean, it's not wrong to say injury, whatever. That one is, I don't know if it's the weather or something. Every now and then it acts up. Right now it sure does. So don't mind me if I can keep moving, like shifting around, trying to stretch stuff a little bit or get a more comfortable position. It's probably not going to happen, but I can try. I can try, mate. Guess I was assuming a world where standard practice for dueling would include that time to prepare. I mean, if you're... Oh, yeah. I just realized I kind of overlooked that you were talking about dueling. I was assuming you meant self-defense on the street. Oh, okay, okay. I just realized I misread your comment. What you mean is a world like a... If modern day world, like currently, if people were allowed to use armor and shields and were allowed to duel, um, what would change? I mean, I feel like shields would definitely be an improvement because you could now use riot shields, which are see-through and quite effective. Um, how would medieval weapons change if they were used now? Good question. I mean, we've already we're seeing tactical versions of historical weapons. If they were actually used as opposed to just sold to mall ninjas, they would probably be a bit different, better made for one. But it's really impossible to say. Like there are some things, there are some cases where we have better material available, you know, like high impact plastics and polypropylene. Like for example, and again, this is already done on the tactical sword market where they use, you know, rubberized plastic handles or polypropylene or whatever. It's just, yeah, quite useful. You could make a polypropylene spear haft. That would be quite effective. So there would definitely be some upgrades that are possible. Who would win, polearm vampire versus cursed sword goblin? Goblins never win against vampires. Doesn't matter what. Uh, let's see. No, no politics. I just read one and then I realized that's politics. No, we don't do that here. If you had to time travel to the medieval ages, would the best option as armor to buy medieval armor online? I feel like there's words missing. So like buying current medieval armor reproductions to go back in time. I'm split on that because on the one hand, reproductions now actually are made of better material, but they're made worse in every other way otherwise. Most of them, at least. I mean, you can get custom made suit of plate for like 10K or whatever from a really capable armorer, but if you mean just the standard stuff, it's rough. Thanks, Nova Star. Do you analyze Surtur's sword from Fate? I can try. Hey. Trying to. Okay, there. I just wanted to copy and paste something, but marking the text turned out glitchy. Where, which, what, who, how. Why do so many anime have to pick the most general names? Why do they always have to take names from mythology and from this and that and the other? And it's like, I can't find anything. It's okay. I'm going to show you. Like, is it this? Is it probably not that? Is it this? No, it's Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. There's another one. Which one is it? I have no idea. Is there a sword here anywhere? No. Unless it's just what the hell. Yeah, I have no idea. Is it this maybe? I don't know. I don't even know where that's from. Nope, that's something else. No, wait. No, it is that one, right? It is that one. Okay. I don't know what the hell is going on with this. There's like a big half moon hook as a pommel, and I don't know why. I'm assuming that's just decorations. It doesn't do anything. Magic, maybe. The blade shape is quite good. Otherwise, it's very fantasy. It does not seem to have a handle as such. I mean, there is a handle, but it's not wrapped or anything. It doesn't seem to have a guard. There's just some stuff going on here. Otherwise, it's very decorated, but yeah, there isn't a whole lot I can say. If you made this in real life, it would be usable. This would be clunky and unnecessary, but it would be usable. Favorite metal for aesthetics? Bronze. Looks nice. Mountain Blade is a fun game series, but obviously the combat isn't realistic, as you only do highly telegraphed swings and 104 directions. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's reasonably realistic. It's just simplified, which it kind of needs to be. If a simple stick is better, why do nunchucks even exist? I don't think it is. What really bothers me about that whole thing is just completely ignoring the main purpose of a nunchuck, or its main strength, which is portability and concealability. You can't shove a stick of equivalent length into your pocket, all right? Or into your belt or whatever. You can with nunchucks. That's the point. You can't just ignore that. All right? It's like saying, you know, a handgun is garbage because rifles are much more powerful. It's not really the greatest comparison, but you get the gist. Not with that attitude. I mean, yeah, you can shove the stick down your pant leg and then walk like this. Okay, I guess. All right. You can't hit yourself with a stick. Okay. Hitting yourself with nunchucks is a non-issue if you're not an idiot. All right? Or not a poser in particular. There's no need for all the if you haven't trained to do that, if you're not good at it, don't do it. People who've trained all the twirly stuff, who are good at it, don't hit themselves. You don't need to do that. Okay? You just need the simplest transitions, and you need to understand that in order to use the nunchucks effectively, you need to follow that shit through. You can't just be, because yeah, guess what? It'll bounce back. But if just with a flail you follow through, it will not hit you. It's not rocket science. I'm not even a fan of flexible weapons. I just don't like all the misconceptions. Just saying, brah. Just saying. Were whips used in battles? Nope. Best mid-tier sword maker, LKChen. There's recently a New Zealand case of road rage incident with a sheathed katana, which broke on impact and lacerated the man from his right shoulder through the neck and across his left hand. Weird. So somebody hit someone else with a katana in the scabbard, and the scabbard broke and cut him. All right. What do you think about Castlevania Nocturne? I like it so far. I've only watched 3 episodes. Like, I'm on it, but haven't watched that much yet. But so far, I like it. As I expected. Thanks again, Novastar. Could you have a whip with a spike at the end to pierce? I want to say no, but the thing is, like, there are people who are really good with rope darts. You've probably seen them, Chinese weapon. It's literally, it's a spike at the end of a rope. And they're able to throw them in such a way that, they go straight forward and pierce. Can you do that with a whip? I really doubt it. Maybe with enough specialized skill, but it would be really tricky. I don't know if that's really possible. I doubt it. but I don't know for sure. So what would he use to fight Fenrir? The wolf who ends the world, basically. I mean, he doesn't end the world, but like starts it pretty much. Starts the apocalypse. Dog spray? I mean, you can't, as a mere mortal, you can't just fight Fenrir. You get chowed. There's just no chance. But yeah, I guess I gotta try those dog repellent sprays. Napalm, maybe? I don't know. Nukes, maybe? Yeah, just nuke the sucker. Indeed. Were there any accounts of two-handed maces being used in warfare? Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean too much necessarily. There might be some cases, like they weren't super common in the West at the very least. In India, I think they had some two-handed maces, but yeah, not overall, not amazingly common. Mystic Eyes of Death perception would be very useful against Fenrir. Yeah, that's true. Why aren't two-handed maces more of a thing anyway? Because there are better pole arms. You know, like a pole axe has the hammer end and spiky bits, and also has an axe and a spike. So why bother with a mace, right? You can have more. Bring a vet to scare the big dog away. Yeah, that would work. Indeed. Fenrir shows up and you're like, oh yeah, just in time. We're going to the vet. Fenrir just whines and runs away, tail between his legs. That'll do it. Oh, hey, that works in the house. That's a funny sentence. That works in the house, but it doesn't work in the garage or outdoors. It won't work there either. Is there any advantage to a Dane axe versus a halberd? No. Well, okay, no, I shouldn't say that. A Dane axe is lighter. There is that. Dane axe is lighter and faster. I'll say that. I'm not total expert of armored combat, but wouldn't a two-handed mace at least impact for damage? Huh? If closer range, because I feel with a poleaxe it could graze off easier. Okay, yeah, I mean, um, yeah, okay. Like if you have an actual flanged mace, if the alignment isn't quite ideal, then you'll still have two flanges hitting a certain way, as opposed to one. With the blade could glance off potentially, but I feel like the main advantage, like the one advantage that a mace has over other types of pole arms or various weapons is that it's omnidirectional basically. Like edge alignment doesn't matter. It does with a warhammer. It matters with an axe, with any kind of polearm really. With a mace, just hit him some kind of way and it's gonna be fine. It'll hurt regardless of orientation and alignment. Use a warhammer to pierce the armor and the mace to slam the warhammer even deeper. No, no, no. You need another hammer to drive in the nail, you know? I mean, no. Warpick. Warpick in one hand, warhammer in the other. Clank, clank, clank. Done. Right? And then you do the old can opener. Use the leverage. Hammer and chisel, yeah. Indeed. Which Belmont is your favorite? Gameplay-wise or lore-wise? Gameplay-wise, easily Simon Belmont in Castlevania 4 because he was the only one who mastered the whip. And it will forever boggle my mind how they just decided, after coming up with the perfect whip mechanics, to afterwards be like, you know what, next game, you can only whip straight forward. Fuck it. Why? Why would you do that? Although it's lore-wise, I mean, the games don't really offer all that much. The 2D ones, at least. Lords of Shadow do a lot more. So, Gabriel Belmont, I guess I could say, lore-wise. Was it common for people to use two swords at once? Where? In the West? No. Some places in Asia? I mean, I still wouldn't say common. But it was done here and there. Not terribly often. What is your opinion on tomahawks? I like them. I certainly like them. One thing I like about them is ease of maintenance and replacing the handle, because you can just push it through, the way it tapers. It's arguably a more practical, or well, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say practical way to mount it as opposed to the wedge, because that can loosen up, and redoing that takes a lot more than it does to replace the haft on tomahawk. And who doesn't like a hatchet that's useful as a tool as well as a weapon, and for throwing on top of it? What's wrong with that? Any good sword fight accidents / injury stories from sparring? Nah. It's just the knee injury that I got from a grappling attempt where the opponent was a little bit, didn't quite know how to do it safely. And otherwise, tendon and ligament injuries are really lame. Like, it's not as cool as breaking a bone, nor does it heal as quickly. It's just, sometimes you don't even notice it at first. Sometimes it creeps up on you. It's the kind of thing where you can just get more and more nagging pains, and it gets worse, and eventually you can't use the limb properly anymore. It's really lame. It sucks. There's nothing cool about that, or like, it's not really a good story behind it. Our Trauma Hawk was an Expendables 4. Oh, really? That's cool. It's really awkward to have to type around the microphone. Anyway. I think I even saw a screenshot of it once. Yeah. Anyway, fits in nicely. In regards to the incident with the zombie tool breaking, what were your immediate thoughts after it happened? Fuck! Basically, something like that. Oh shit! Fucking hell. Yeah. Because I meant to gradually ramp it up. You know, at first do a 22, then do 9mm, then do 45, and just you know. But the problem was on that day, where the range that we were at was absolutely infested with mosquitoes. Like they were everywhere. They were just absolutely wrecking us. So we got really impatient. So I was like, oh, dude, let's just get the hell out of here. Let's do one more. Let's just go directly to the rifle. I don't care, just do it. And then, yeah, I did it. And smart. Yeah. That did not go the way it was. I mean, you know, even if I had the time, I guess I would have still gone too far. But I think I would have probably reached a caliber where I noticed cracks forming and I would have been like, okay, that's it. We're done. As opposed to just shattering the thing. Also, at that time, I just, I completely underestimated the 7.62 by 39. Yeah. It's like saying, I kind of underestimated that tank barrel. I didn't know it would, you know, it would shoot that hard. But, you know, it is what it is. What weapons would a giant use against normal humans? Scythes. You know, like an actual scythe. Just imagine a giant scythes at like shin height and cuts humans in half. That'd be brutal. Can you review the weapons in Hunt Showdown? Didn't I? I feel like I did. I made a video about that a couple of years ago. Couple of years? That might have been like 2018 or so. Well, a couple of years, no, 5 years. Oops. Anyway. How long ago was this? Like 7 or so years? The Reaver Cleaver incident was, yeah, 7 years. 7 years ago. It's been a hot minute. It feels way longer. It feels more like 17 or something. I don't know. A lot has changed since then. Unfortunately, not quite as ignorant anymore. That's good. Never made a Hunt Showdown video? Do you have a false memory? I even remember that what the thumbnail looks like. What the hell? Hang on. That can't be right. Huh? Yeah, I'm not finding anything. What? Was it just a side note in some other video that was about something else? Oh, I think the thumbnail I'm remembering was from a stream I did of Hunt Showdown. I thought I mentioned it somewhere. I have a distinct memory where I talked about how realistic the weapons are in Hunt. Oh, I know. It was in the video about reloading in Red Dead Redemption 2. That's where I mentioned it. Oh, things with the channel, did it get better? Nope, it keeps getting worse, no matter what I do. That's fun. Thanks, Nova Star. Would even small war picks with a somewhat long spiked beak rip through mail? Yeah, certainly. Also, best sword plus rotella plus full body scale / brigandine against a spear. I want to say basket hilt. At first I was thinking side sword, but I might still say side sword. Yeah, okay, no side sword after all. Because the thing is with the side sword, you might have a chance. Like if you parry the spear and then it goes off to your side, you might still be able to grab the spear with the same hand if you have to. If your hand is inside the basket, you can't. Thanks, Frank. How crazy would it be if someone came out with a video where they dual wielded great sword IRL? Somebody's probably tried that. Not effectively, but I bet someone's tried that. It's time to start making clickbait, man. You're just asking me to sell my soul. That's what you're doing. I don't like the idea. Hunt has some fun melee weapon on gun designs. Yeah, sure does. Did you replace the green screen with a green screen? No. Could I do this? No, I don't have enough lights set up right now to actually chroma key. But it's a background, you know. It's a thing. Did you receive your Leomano yet? Yes, the box has been sitting on the counter for a while. I haven't gotten around to opening it yet because I want to do an unboxing on video. How's the health journey going? Not well. Just getting first COVID and then a cold, like a nasty cold, mere 3 weeks after I recovered from that, just wrecked everything. So yeah, still not 100% back to normal, but yeah, it's been rough. I'll say that. It shall suffice to say that. You never guess what happened with this sword. HEMA sparring gun sexual. You won't believe what happened next. Crunch. Any advice about HEMA gloves for saber sparring? I don't know for sure. There is I've heard good things about the high guard gloves that Purple Heart Armory has, but I haven't tried them myself. Like they fit into saber guards. They don't look super protective, but as I said, I've heard good things about them. That's all I can say. I took this sword to HEMA practice and this happened. Yeah. Don't forget the stupid gaping mouth face. So fucking stupid. I hate that. It's so irritating. Would you describe yourself as a neo-pagan? No. I'm agnostic. Or atheist, whatever. Because to some people, the term agnostic doesn't exist. Basically. They're like, oh, but that's what atheist is. Whatever, I don't give a fuck. Do it ironically? Yeah, but you can't do clickbait ironically. It's still clickbait. Like, even if in the video you're like, haha, it's just a joke. Yeah, but you still did it. Like, you know, you still did it and it still had the effect. It's like slapping someone in the face and be like, it's just a prank, bro. What is the secret behind your smooth voice? Is it really smooth? I don't really like my voice, but hey. Not smoking and drinking? I don't know what to tell you. Something. Just don't turn to Shadiversity. Oh, you mean when with a clickbait? Since we brought that up. Yeah. I said I hate clickbait. I don't want to do it. This is like the dark side. I'm just kind of worried that at some point I'll hit such a roadblock where I have to make the cursed decision of either giving into clickbait bullshit or just quitting because it's not viable anymore otherwise. I would hate that. I would really hate that. Thanks, Novastar. You're really championing the super chats today. Like you're basically sponsoring the channel single-handedly. I appreciate it. Could a square or triangular cross section pierce Or wait, could a square triangular cross section spear pierce a brigandine? Yes. How deep depends on the strength of the user, but yeah, we've definitely seen. I mean, if you haven't seen Todd's video where he tests a brigandine, he tests several different arrowheads, and yeah, stuff goes through. Also, if the knicht was thinner but the same width, how good would it cut? Light targets, it would cut even better. Heavier targets, even something like bone, not as well. Probably will, yeah, but at the same time, you just got to do what you can. Yeah. This niche isn't going anywhere. You can ride this wave for as long as you like. No, I can't. It's already gotten pretty well, not dangerous, but difficult. It's getting less and less sustainable in the long run. Have you ever thought about doing more skits? Yeah, I mean, I do that. I did that just recently. The problem is that was not worth the effort whatsoever. That video took basically an entire week to make, and it completely underperformed. So good stuff. What advantages do glaives have over other polearms? They don't really have any. A glaive doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, it's a perfectly good polearm. Don't get me wrong, but it's like a kitchen knife on a stick, sort of. So like, yeah, it'll thrust, it'll cut, no problem. But there are polearms that do a lot more than that. So it's kind of basic. It's kind of, what do the kiddies say? Mid. I think people prefer straight to the point vids, so skits may unfortunately hurt the viewership. I don't necessarily think so. I think they can do quite well, because it's a way to make people not just click away after 5 seconds because they have no attention span. If there's like some action going on, it's like, oh, monkey brain like action, that might make them stick around for long enough, maybe. But the problem is, in the age of TikTok, it's monkey brain is all over the place. Why is the archer class hated or mostly underwhelming in many games? I don't think you can say that. I feel like you mean multiplayer games specifically, because there are plenty of games where archer class is just fine or even really good. But I feel like the problem in multiplayer is it's just necessarily an unbalanced experience, because basically either you just get killed before you can touch them, or you wreck them. There is not a whole lot in between. So, I don't know. How thin did rondel daggers with short blades get and what they simply ignore mail. Ignore mail. So, no, you don't exist, bitch. Shank. I don't have measurements for you, so I don't know. Generally, the tendency is for them to be fairly thick. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I happen to have one right here. Coincidentally, this one's made by Todd, and yeah, just look at this thing. I'm showing you the spine, okay? It's not the width of the blade, it's the thickness. I kind of have to tell you that because you might be confused. This is how thick the sucker is. And for good reason, because you want it to be stiff. Right? For proper thrusts, it needs to be hella stiff. Right? So you don't want it to be too thin against armor. And it doesn't ignore mail as in just like butter, but it's very effective at piercing mail, no doubt. You still have to put some oomph into it, but yeah, it'll do it. Absolutely. Enjoying AI art will become a psychopathy tell, like harming small creatures. I like that. I don't know what your problem is. I like AI art. Yeah. The thing is, like some landscape AI art can be okay, can be, but even then, it's when you take a closer look, you start to see all the glitches. You know, like I found a Halloween themed picture, which was pretty cool, like a haunted house and stuff. And at first I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then I took a closer look. I'm like, oh no, it's AI garbage. It's like, look at all the glitchiness, like distorted architecture and weird little artifacts and fucked up windows and all this kind of stuff. And what really bothers me, this brings my piss to a boil, when I see on art websites where somebody puts up something where they claim they drew it and you can just immediately tell this is AI art. Like, I made this. No, you didn't, you piece of garbage. Like, come on. Like, it's one thing to put up AI art, but then to claim that you drew it? That's a major dick move. That's a paddling right there. I meant a thin, square section blade. Well, define thin. But yeah, if you don't make it flimsy, like if it's still rigid, then it's fine. Thanks, Boxcar Hobo. AI art aficionados on the new furries. Okay, that's kind of unfair to furries even.
What? Even?
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's like people who sniff little girls' hair. Hi, Joe. How's the country going? Anyway, thanks, Jaga. I just want to throw some money at you. If you feel like making more skits, I think your Deathstalker video is still one of my top most funny videos on YouTube. Love your humor. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, greasy is definitely one way to put it. Yeah, I made this. No, you didn't. Somebody else made a bunch of art that this AI then, leached off of and copycatted. Here is hack ChatGPT on the dank web that will tell you anything. Anything. You can ask it about the origin of the universe. I mean, it'll probably make some shit up. That's a problem with AI. It makes shit up, including fake references that don't exist. It's, it's another one of those things. The same shit that we humans always do. These frickin' furless monkeys keep doing the same thing. We come up with something that could be great. That could be like an amazing tool, or it has so much potential, and then we fuck it up. And I say that because you might be like, but hang on, how is it humans' fault that AI does it? Who makes the AI first off? Who decides how it learns and where it takes stuff from? And that's exactly the problem here. Like, it could be super useful, but then it's being turned into, basically a tool of mimicry and copyright infringement. Because it's like, well, is it still copyrighted if, just takes a bunch of material and smushes it all together and alters it? It's like the, can I copy your homework? Yeah, but alter it a little meme. And I'm oversimplifying here. Like, it depends on exactly what the details are, exactly how it's done. But quite often with a lot of these, that's the thing. Like, you feed it a bunch of art, copyrighted art, and then it spits out something that's no longer copyrighted. It's like, At least currently it's still so shitty that you can recognize it immediately. But if eventually it's no longer anymore, then sorry, Nova Star, no politics, no chat drama. Just also, if you ask me what did he mean by this and that, ask him. I have no idea. I don't know what someone else means by what they say. If what they say is ambiguous, then you gotta ask them. Thanks, Monkfried. May I ask how difficult your immigration process was, and why Canada and not the US? It was, well, the paperwork sucks. I will say that. It's not difficult to come to Canada to live there for a while, but if you want a permanent residence permit, oh boy, they're strict. That was a bit of a pain in the ass. I'll say that. Why Canada, not the US? Because, okay, how can I say this in a way that's not political? I can't. I'm just going to say, from my point of view, the US are a political dumpster fire. I'm just going to leave it at that. And they have been for a while. It's gotten even worse. But they have been for a long time. And they're no easier. In fact, I don't know if the US or Canada is harder to get into. They're both pretty challenging. As an American, you're right. Yeah, I know. It's the Americans. There's always Americans who agree with me. I mean, not unsurprising because it's such a broad statement that both left-wingers and right-wingers can agree. Because I didn't clarify in what I mean by dumpster fire, but I mean, that's part of it. This whole, like, it's so polarized. But let's leave it at that. I do not like politics on this channel. I do not. I've decided to hold my tongue regarding Canada. Canada has plenty of problems. All right, I know. And we've gotten worse here too. Part of it is the US rubbing off. Some of the reactionary extremism is unfortunately carried over here and rubbed off a little bit. But either way, every country has plenty of problems. There is no paradise. I just, if US politics are dumpster fire, Canadian politics are burned turkey roast. It's Thanksgiving, so Canadian Thanksgiving. So yeah, burned turkey roast. Like all the smoke coming out of the oven. It can still do damage. It can still ruin your kitchen, but I feel like a dumpster fire is worse. Like U.S. Politics are like a dumpster fire in your living room. The dumpster is somehow there. Anyway, we're getting nowhere. Thanks for your answer. Well, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. It definitely helps out. Name one bad thing about Norway. I have several. One being groceries. Holy shit. Norwegian grocery stores are deprived. I mean, I haven't been there in 10 years. So my opinion might be outdated. But back then, it was like every store has the same shit. For each type of product, you have like 2 or 3 options. The food is bland, mostly. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Do you want me to continue? I don't want to rip Norway because there are plenty of good things about it. It's just, there are bad things. There are bad things about every place. And Bergen is the rainiest city in Europe. It's rough. Oh, ow. Also, they're not part of the EU. Oh, man, did you hear that? My collarbone snapped something fierce. I felt that. Thanks, Nova Start. As a Texas resident, I have a general idea of how Texas is perceived, but I was wondering your thoughts. Yeah. What can I say about Texas that's not political? It's too hot. All right? Like for me, hot climate is a no-go, and Texas is hot as balls, right? The gun laws, there's something to be said about it. And I hear a lot about Southern hospitality, where people in Texas are super friendly, as long as you don't disagree with them politically, at least, or as long as they don't know, that kind of thing, right? I've never been there though, so I don't know. That was a crispy crack. Crispy, I like it. Rainiest, you want to live on Vancouver Island? Hey, I lived on Vancouver Island, and I know it's nowhere near as rainy as Bergen. No competition. Not even close. That's decently accurate. I kind of like the Texan accent. I butcher it sometimes. I mean, I've been told that my like wannabe Texan accent is not too bad. Anyway. BC is like one of the worst parts of Canada, coming from a BC resident, because in my opinion it's so overpriced to live here. Decent crime rate. Yes, but the problem is that has shrunk. It used to be, BC, bring cash. Like everything is so expensive. But the problem is all the other provinces have been catching up. So the divide is not quite as large anymore. Like the Maritimes used to be way more affordable than BC. They are still more affordable, but the gap is much smaller now. Now the Maritimes are also very unaffordable. Everywhere is. Like the world is going to shit, basically, Late stage capitalism is collapsing in on itself. Yeah, that's the word. The phrasing, I mean. And yeah, inflation is just running away. Is that too political already? It's kind of Economics are not really politics as such, but anyway, whatever. What anime besides Maria the Virgin Witch has accurate arms and armor? I'm not aware of a single one. Other than that. How about you, Chad? Does anybody know of any anime that has historically accurate arms and armor other than Maria the Virgin Witch? I've never seen anything really. Worst part about Vancouver Island for me was leaving it. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. Big time. Yeah, okay, Vinland Saga partially, yeah, sometimes has accurate, yeah, that's true. Berserk, no, there's nothing historical in there. Like historically inspired, sure, but nothing that I would call historically accurate by any means. Cowboy Bebop. I mean, the firearms there are really detailed, right? So, yeah, actually, yes. Thoughts on salvaging damaged weapons instead of tossing them. A sword becomes a dagger, a broken polearm becomes a one-handed spear or axe. I'm convinced they did that. I mean, they did turn broken sword blades into daggers and knives and all that. We know that. Turning polearms into single-handed swords. Polearm into a single-handed sword. What? Into a single-handed axe, maybe. They would generally reuse as much as possible because material was more expensive, especially relative to labor. Magic or firearm? What do you mean or? How about yes? I mean, if I could have magic, I would pick that over firearms. At least it was decent. If it was decent magic, like some kind of, if it's just like you can make a candle light appear in your hand. If it's some lame shit, then no. But if it was proper magic, then yeah, sure. Bayonets are lit only if you douse them in gasoline and light them. Then they're lit. Probably more kerosene. Something that sticks better. Anyway. Summon a magic gun that never runs out of ammo. There's a game that kind of does that. What was it called? I tried a demo of it just recently. What the hell was it called? Basically, like an Old West themed fantasy game where the protagonist can like magically summon ammo inside the gun. So instead of reloading, you just point at it and just, you know. What the hell was it called again? I can't remember. I tried the demo and I was like, okay, it's a neat idea, but meh. Wasn't really fun. I don't actually like that. Like in practical terms, it would be great to be able to do that, but I like I like reloading animations if they're done well. It's more satisfying than just, you know. Do you think dual wielding tomahawks could actually be practical? Depends on the context. What are you fighting? Are you fighting somebody else with just a single sword, or like a firearm with bayonet, or what are we talking about? It can be useful. I wouldn't want to dual tomahawk fight someone with a longsword or sword and shield, but in some situations, sure. What about doing reviews at museums or collectors? I would love to do that. It's just with the way YouTube has been going, I have basically no budget. None. So traveling is kind of, you know. Like I would really love to, when I saw what was it, Adam Savage at the Met Museum, I was like, oh damn, who do I need to end rightly to make that happen? I would love to go to the Met Museum. It's much closer to where we're at, but yeah, can't really justify that expense currently, especially because I would have to, it would have to be the two of us because I would need a camera operator. So, have you done much sword fighting in VR? For a while I did, like in 2017, 18, 19, something like that. I haven't done that in a while because the problem was always it takes me a long time to get into it because I get really bad motion sickness with VR games. So I need to just kind of slowly ramp it up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So it's a bit of a process. And then when I don't do it for a while, I go right back to horrible motion sickness. So yeah, it's a bit involved to get back into it. I would like to, but it sucks. The motion sickness really sucks. A couple of times I've kind of fantasized about getting one of those omnidirectional treadmills, but they're also expensive, and I don't even know if it would really help. Yeah, I've even tried the like motion sickness medication, and it didn't even help. It was still pretty bad. My brain does not cope with that too well, unfortunately. Thanks, Levi. It's got to go better, and I'm pretty sure it will get better again with your channel. Don't worry. Thanks. I hope I. Hang on. I wish I shared your optimism. That was a massive brain short circuit. Huh? Wait. What words am I supposed to use for this sentence? Yeah. I had like a VHS rewind moment. Oh boy. He's hoping things turn around for you. You've got a wonderful channel. Thank you. I appreciate that. I would hope so, but think you missed my super chat today. Oh, I'm sorry. I did. Didn't mean to. Thank you again. What about a weapon like the Green April from Tower of God? What is? I just imagined April O'Neil in a green jumpsuit. Green April. What is that? What is happening here? Okay, so it's basically the extreme form of a Chotel? No, not really Chotel. A Falx. It's like an ultra bent Falx. I do not see the point. Why would you do that? I'm hoping it's either double-edged or the edge is on this side, because you can't cut with most of this. Like, yeah, in some situations you might be able to hook around a limb or neck or whatever, but that's hard to do. The curvature is way too extreme. And you can't thrust with it. I mean, again, you can kind of hook, but it's too much. It's way too much. It should not be this over curved, you know? Mistakes have been made. Thanks, Matthew. Would a shield boss be effective against plate armor? Wait, just a boss? You mean like punching with it or what? No. You can't really generate enough power, especially considering how heavy a shield like that is. Like, it takes quite a bit of energy to accelerate, and then it doesn't concentrate the force very well because it's still a pretty large object. And because you're just punching with it, you don't get the benefit of a weapon, which is leverage. You don't have leverage. So against plate, no. You'd shove them, but they wouldn't be very good. It's a flexible hook. It's flexible too. That's even worse. That makes it even worse. I don't know about that. If you had to quit YouTube, what do YouTube do? Are you asking me if I quit? What would YouTube do if I quit? Oh, man, YouTube would be in so much trouble if this one dumbass quit. Yeah, I get it. The question is, what would you do instead? Wrestle wild bulls for money? I don't know. I would try to do something else, art related. We'll probably turn to a starving artist, but yeah, that might be the trajectory anyway, long term. Yeah. Maybe something related, like video editing, or although if I had to do nothing but video editing, oh boy. I could do it, but it would not be fun or fulfilling or, you know. I mean, it depends. When I get into hyperfocus and get really immersed in editing a video, then yeah. Sure, but it's still not what I would consider fun as such. Thanks, Rune Chaos. Have you watched the Malcolm PL? Huh? I don't know who or what that is. Imagine he would enjoy his native Canadian content. Okay, it's a channel. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. No idea. YouTube would have to find a new champion, yeah. Oh boy. I'd give up. I had one question. Okay? You gave up at the exact right time. The one time I see your stuff, whatever. Ever consider getting hold of studio/gaming companies, etc., about weapon armor design for historical accuracy? I have even been approached once or twice, but yeah, I just did not have the time at all. So yeah, kind of sucks, but what can you do? Man, I'm turning into James Rolfe here almost. No time, no time, nobody got time. It's not that bad, but yeah, that would be quite a commitment. Would you search up Tower of God Strong and Weak? The video would show you how the Green April works. Let's see. What do we have? How does it work? The hell is she, like 8 or something? The girl who uses that weapon? 8 might be aiming too high. She looks like she's 6. Why does anime always have to do that? Okay, so it's not always that strongly curved. So somehow magically it manages to go from like a floppy whip thing to a perfectly solid sword that you can block with. I mean, yeah, if you have the magic to pull it off, sure. That's pretty useful. It's some bullshit, but you know, magic. That's how it is. So, yeah. If it works like that, sure. That's pretty useful. But without magic, nothing would ever work that way. Ever accidentally stabbed someone? No, I have not. I'm not a dumbass. I mean, I am a dumbass, but just not, not that dumb. All right? It's a difference. Thanks, Levi, for becoming a member. Is it Levi or is it Levi? I never know. Have I mispronounced you the entire time, or I don't know. I purposely stabbed someone once. Okay. Whoa. Chill out there. I think you could go viral if you become commentary/reaction channel. No. The thing is, I do commentary videos every now and then. But they used to do well, yes, but these days they don't. For whatever reason, shit's changed. I don't know. Ever accidentally committed tax evasion? I do not work for the government. Wink. Okay, that's a weird one. The thing is, I can, in all honesty, like 100% no bullshit, say that I've never fucked with taxes. Like, I've never withheld anything or tried to cheat on that or whatever. You know, for whatever that's worth, I'm not Trump. I'm like an anti-Trump. Anyway, that was random. Thoughts on the Arms and Armor Celtic Spear? I like it. I've never handled one, but it looks nice. Why evade taxes when you can parry and counter them? Oh yeah, you make the government pay you instead. You pronounce it just right. Okay, so Levi is correct. All right, good. I wasn't sure because it could be Levy, right? As well, maybe. Although not really, because that would be more like 2E at the end. Oh, whatever. Thanks, Boxcar Hobo. A couple ideas: sword and weapon maintenance miniseries or anime reaction shirts. Oh boy, I got a chuckle out of the what is she 5? Yeah, that's such a common thing in anime. Why is it so borderline Pete, or it sometimes not even borderline? What is it with that? It icks me out. You know. I know not all anime does that. I'm fully aware. But it sure is common. Do you discuss with other YouTubers how they deal with revenues going down? No. Maybe I should, but yeah. Anime do that due to their cultural beauty standards. That's pretty gross culture. I mean, again, I don't want to overgeneralize. And also I realize that Japanese culture and, anime fan culture is different. It's in Japan, it's a subculture too, but ugh, I don't like it. This bullshit of, well, she looks like she's 8 years old, but she's actually 2,000-year-old. Fuck off. Just no. Thanks, Lonesome Gavlan. Gavlan? You inspired me to blacksmith. Love from Scotland. Awesome. Glad to know. I mean, I'm not sure why, because I've never... Okay, that's not true. I have a couple of videos that are about blacksmithing, where I collaborated with blacksmiths, but yeah. Either way, glad to know. Thanks, Nova Star. Have you ever tested a square section spear against mail? No, I have tested a... Wait, hang on. The one that we tested, what cross-section did that actually have? Let me double check. Because we have tested a spear on mail that, did go through. No, okay. I remember. It was like a lenticular cross-section. I have one with a square cross-section, but that's a javelin. So it's really thin and light. So that will not be that easy. Like, it could technically go through. It's just harder to generate enough force with it because it's so light and kind of flimsy. Also, Anak, the green girl, isn't sexualized for all that it's worth. That's good. So I'm glad to know that, at least. Like, I'm not against young characters in general, but I just hate when they're, portrayed as like super young but also sexualized. It's just icky, Blacksmiths are cooler than the rest of us, to be fair. How can you argue with that? Any horror video game recommendations for this Halloween? I mean, if you haven't played the Resident Evil remake, 1 and 2, 3, from what I hear, is not as good. Now there's also 4 remake, right? That's something. If you've never played Amnesia, it's an older one by now, but Amnesia has some genuinely creepy moments. And it's psychological horror. It's like boogity boogity, jump scare, lazy shit. It's like actual psychological horror. So it's good. I mean, yes, original 3 also wasn't as good as original 2. That's true. So I guess they're consistent. If you had to carry a single weapon forever, one to be used for defense/offense, but also as a tool. So wait, can I not have any other tools either? I'm assuming I can have other tools, but it's just the only weapon and tool. Well, I guess it'll have to be an axe. Because a sword is a lousy tool. It's great as a weapon, but it sucks as a tool. I think it's not usable. A machete does both. I might have to go with a machete. It's a little bit more versatile than a sword. Just depends on which machete, you know. Because there's a lot of variation there too. I like the well-developed, busty anime women. That's a real underdog take right there. I mean, maybe I have the actual underdog take because my problem is they overdo it sometimes. Where it's these grotesque, like ridiculously oversized udders, you know, that's like, no, you went, like you went to a good max size, and then you went like fucking 5 cup sizes over, and now it's just ridiculous. And they jiggle worse than Jello on the moon. It's like, exaggeration is good to an extent, but if you go too far, it gets dumb. So, yeah, it's too much. Sometimes it's just too much. Also, shape is more important than size. That's my opinion. Anyway. With regards to your video on a diamond sword, would a Bowie knife with a diamond edge work better? Oh, just the edge? Yeah. Didn't I even say that in the video? I think I said something to the effect of like a knife with diamond inserts, you know, if it was affordable, would work well. Yeah. It's just you can't have impact shock on it. Is it worth it to practice HEMA in this day and age? Yes. Because you get plenty of other things from it. You get, friends, community, fun exercise, opportunity to build and develop skills, which is its own reward. Connecting to history and all that. Synthetic diamond is affordable, yes. Thanks, 14 Pat. Buy some Czech beer. Do they have Czech beer? I mean, probably. There's probably Czech beer here somewhere. I'm generally not a beer guy. I don't even know what Czech beer is like. But thank you, either way. Yep, fun is a perfectly good reason to do HEMA. Yeah, okay. I was just thinking, am I still cuffing in the right direction? Because the camera is now on the opposite side of the table. Normally it's on this side, now it's on that side. So it's like if I cuff in that direction, is that the right one? Yeah. Off the frame rather than over there. Totally trivial, but that's the kind of shit I think about sometimes. You know? The shiny rock we decided is very valuable. Yes, indeed. When it comes to any kind of martial art, something not many people have mentioned is that being fitter and a little less afraid of the horrible people around us really helps. Good point. Yeah. You know, for the same reason, well, I mean, maybe not the horrible people, but for the same reason, any sport is good. Like, being physically active and you know, doing things socially is generally good for people. You know, it's a thing. For sure. It also keeps you mentally fit, you know, to try out new things and learn complex movements and all that. Plenty of benefits. Hang in there, old man. Yeah, I'm trying. My shoulder is really bothering me today. What's your mouth, you whippersnapper? Don't you talk shit about my aging body. You know? It's a temple. Decaying and crumbling, ancient, possibly haunted. But I still got it. I still got the quick draw. Don't you mess. Don't you mess with the best. Mess with the best. I don't know why that's funny. It's probably just in my demented brain. Could a Manu Ballista pierce plate? What's that now? What kind of ballista is that? Let's see. Hand ballista. A hand ballista? Huh. Okay. It's not actually handheld. Yeah, I mean, if it's a piece of siege engine, yeah, of course. For sure. Also, if Christian holy relics definitely had powers, which one would you want? I don't even know what powers they supposedly have. No idea. Sorry. Do you have interest in trying fishing/hunting games? No, not really. Fishing and hunting games to me are almost as boring as sports games. It's just not my thing. No offense to anyone who likes them, but they ain't for me. Finally seeing you live. You say that 5 minutes before I'm about to go. That's unfortunate, but thank you. Either way. How useful would riveted bronze mail be? Not terrible, I think, because mail was mostly made of iron, so it's not like a huge downgrade. Like, not as good, but not terrible. Also depends on what you're going up against. I remember even seeing copper mail from somewhere. Where was it? Somewhere in East Asia, I believe. Southeast Asia, maybe? I don't quite remember. Still planning on using your second channel. Unfortunately, I don't have time for it. Maybe at some point I'll try again, but it's usually I can't manage both. It's kind of the problem. Thanks, Kragaron. If I pronounce that correctly, I don't know. I know I caught the tail end of the stream, so it may have been asked, how's your health/fitness journey going? Yes, it has, and the answer is still, it sucks. Because after I got first COVID, and then 3 weeks after I recovered, got a nasty cold, that just threw everything just into shambles. So, yeah, it's been rough. Thanks, Wing Zero. If you had to take the place of Brendan Fraser in The Mummy, what would your weapon of choice be to fight the undead? I can't really remember too much of the movie, like how. I don't really know what the Mummy was like strengths and weaknesses and all that. I don't know, it's like some blessed sacred longsword of undead slaying. I don't know. Incendiary, like dragon's breath shells on a shotgun. That sounds good. Thanks, Nova Star. Would you look at the Mystic Eyes of Death perception again and try to understand how it works? Well, you already explained it to me, didn't you? It sounds ridiculously OP. That's really all I can say about it. It's like if you can sever anyone's or anything's connection to the real world, that's ridiculously OP, right? I don't think there's much else to say about it. How far are you from a sword currently? 2 meters? Meter and a half, 2 meters, something like that. Some powerful beings in the universe lack a concept of death. Good for them, I guess. Although it also sucks, because that means you're immortal in absolute terms. That means you can never cease existing. And that would suck. At the very latest, when you arrive at the big freeze, where everything is dark in the universe, nothing is alive anymore, you'll definitely regret that shit. That doesn't really sound like a good deal. Think you should try and make a bow out of PVC? Yep, I've done it before. I could try and make one that's more powerful. Well, if I made one that was more powerful, now with my messed up shoulder, I wouldn't be able to draw it. So that would be kind of pointless. At that time, I still had 2 fully functioning, healthy shoulders. That was before the car accident. I think that was even before the knee accident. So, yeah, I was a lot healthier then. Younger. I remember my youth. A youthful vitality. Anyway. Would titanium make a good sword blade? No, because titanium would be garbage at taking and holding an edge. The thing is, people always think titanium is stronger than steel because it's stronger by volume, I think. It doesn't mean it's stronger than steel. It just means that it weighs less at comparable strength. And I don't know if you can harden it. You know, heat, treat, and temper. I don't think you can. By weight. Okay, yeah, not by volume. Yeah, that's why I was like, am I remembering that correctly? No, it's by weight. Yeah. Hmm. You can use uranium in the borax part of the sword making. That's kind of funny. Certain conceptual weapons can give you the concept of death. Wow. That's just weird. It's like, yeah, so I'm immortal, but this weapon will make me mortal. I mean, I guess that's not even necessarily that unusual in different forms. Thanks, MG3. What's your favorite fantasy sword from any media? Shard blades from Sanderson's novels, because they're quite OP. You can summon them from like a pocket dimension, basically, straight into your hand. They sever the souls of people or living things. So anything they go through will either just turn numb and dead or will, well, kill the target. And they're indestructible, etc., etc. They're very OP. Do you reckon that the Dacian Falks would benefit from having a false edge that is sharpened? Yes. I do think that would make sense, for sure. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I'm poking fun at all this stuff, like the, death perception or whatever, and the concept stuff and whatever, simply because I don't know it in detail. It could be well written for all I know. It's just what I looked up sounded pretty silly, but I have no idea. I can't judge anything that I know nothing about, so I could be totally off base here. If you had the room, would you consider forging your own swords? No. That's too much time commitment, because in order to get good at that, you have to basically do it at least as a part-time job. You know? That ain't happening. Life is too short to take everything seriously. Exactly. I don't even take myself seriously, so why would I take other things seriously? Anyway, I've been streaming for 3 hours, and there's still other things to do, always. So I'm just going to wrap it up here. Thanks for hanging out. I almost said hanging up. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Hope you had fun.